Hey everyone, we're back at it with another one. This one is a pair of Wolverine 1000 miles, just like the title says. Doing some additional, well, not additional, but a little bit more than usual work on these guys to change them up a bit and make them a little more hefty and everything like that. And yeah, this is definitely going to be a fun one for sure to do. I haven't done a Wolverine 1000 mile in a little while myself personally, so I'm kind of excited to do that. And also because the sole that we're going to be doing on it is one that I haven't done a video on yet either, so it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to be able to show this off in a video. So come join us and check it out. So Wolverine 1000 miles are one of those boots I'm usually a big fan of and everything, just the design of them. Now they aren't a full 360 degree welt or anything like that, but for a kind of slimmer profile 270 degree welt, definitely a nice one. Only part that I don't like as a cobbler is these heel bases always tend to separate in layers on us here when we start peeling them apart there. One thing I always like to mention also with I gotta make sure before I forget to write left on here, one thing I always notice with the 1000 miles on these guys is that a lot of their soles have that oil treated leather on them, and they're good soles. They're resistant towards water and kind of, you know, getting broken down from all the salt and minerals and stuff that might be out there on the road, especially here in Colorado. But when it comes to adding a sole protector over top of that, sometimes it doesn't quite work out as perfectly as we want it to. It doesn't always stick, just because the oils that are infused into that leather sole do kind of counter the adhesives. Now the adhesives we use, they do have a solvent in them, and so it's supposed to technically penetrate through the oils very well, but once it's cured and everything, those oils shift around after some movement, just because obviously the adhesive just goes on that top portion of the leather sole, something we ground down, and it only breaks down a portion of the oils that's in the leather, and those oils are fairly fatty on them. I don't know exactly what they use in their leather soles, but you can definitely feel that oil. It's like an oil treated type of leather upper, and after a few wears that sole bends and everything like that, and so those oils shift back around. And so if you ever get a pair of Wolverine 1000 miles and you get a sole protector put on them, just kind of keep that in mind. I always like to mention to people that because the leather is treated kind of heavily, in other words, with oils and fats, that after some wears there may be a chance that sole protector may start coming undone a little bit in a spot or two, especially at the toe, maybe on one of the sides. It really depends on what your wear pattern may be. So you may end up having to kind of get that touched up or addressed at some point if it does start coming up, and it's better to catch it sooner rather than later. In our case, you know, we'll touch it up. It's not going to be any kind of charge unless you really did some major damage and held off on getting that separating issue addressed in time, and then we may have to start looking into a potential resole, which unfortunately I've seen happen for sure. Now there is one thing that always makes people kind of question boots or shoes when they start doing something like this. Once I've got this off, that the nail is really getting in the way right there pretty badly, preventing me from being able to just pull this sole right off. But one thing that some people always complain about in these is that this heel rand right here is a synthetic, well, not necessarily synthetic, but it's a fiberboard. It's not a leather one. There's no harm in that. The fireboard ones actually for a heel rand work phenomenally, just because unlike a leather, see these nails going through here, and you got to have some nails that kind of hold the heel base on, obviously. And we got a fiberboard heel rand. Those nail heads tend to grip a little bit better, and the fiberboard doesn't stretch like leather would over a period of time. Over a period of time, the leather ones will start to stretch right where those nails are, and technically the nail head can rip through. It's a very, very slim chance, but it can happen. The other thing is also fiberboard is a little bit cheaper and easier to work with than leather as well. So these do have a shank in them. The shank is embedded underneath here if I grab my heel pry. So if we move all the cork out of the way, you can see a little rivet piece right here, right there. There's that rivet there, and so that's the shank going inside of the footbed of these guys here. So thought I'd kind of point that out if some people are thinking like, oh no, there's no shank. There is a shank, and it's a little problematic if the shank is snapped. Thankfully it's not in this one. We still double check it, because if it is snapped, it's going to take a little bit of prying and digging out, and it's honestly kind of annoying on boots and shoes kind of like this. So got the sole off on these. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the insoles and get those nails pulled out from the inside, just because it's a much safer bet to always pull them out from the inside over here. And yeah, so we'll get that going and get the other boot taken apart, and we'll continue on. Alright, so now I've got the cork filled up and everything. Off camera I did pull all the stitches and everything around the welts and stuff like that as well. Just pulled this guy out of the oven, just because there's going to be a lot more that I'll be showing you guys anyways. So I'm going to skip over some of the stuff that's visible in other videos too. But real quick, for those of you who might be wondering, yes, this sole is very big compared to the boot, in other words. So we're going to cut and trim that. Now all of this doesn't go to waste. That scrap piece, we keep scraps like that around sometimes when we need to build up a heel block, sometimes when we need to use a little bit of a wedge on something, even here around the shop. So we keep these leather pieces. They never just go to waste like that. So just want to kind of point that out. But anyways, I'm going to stick this on the press and we'll continue on. I'm going to let these actually cure overnight before we take them to the trimmer. So we'll see you in a little bit. Alright everyone, so I've gone ahead and put on the heel base, or some of you know as heel block, on. It's a leather stacked one that we've got on here, because we are changing up the heel. We're putting a Cuban style heel actually on this, and so the original heel block definitely is not going to work for that Cuban style heel. Cuban style heel is like a Western boot where it kind of tapers and angles inward and everything, and also we have to accommodate for that height difference as well that we've got now on the sole, because we've got a fairly thick leather sole in here. This is what's called an 11 to 12 iron, so it's one of the thicker leather pieces, and we've also got the Vibram 700 half sole over top of that as well. So we definitely have to make sure to adjust for that. Now typically I like to match up the heels that match the sole, which is the 700 heel. However, because we're making these into a Cuban heel, you can see these little channels here that they've got in the Vibram heel. Unfortunately, when I start sanding it and trimming it out to be that Cuban style heel, those just semi-shallow channels there are kind of going to get in the way where they're going to get nicked, and it's going to be weak points and everything, so we definitely don't want to do that. It'd be great to match up that heel block, but unfortunately it won't work. So we've got the GTO Italian top lift here. This is one of the thicker ones. This is their they call it an 18 iron. It's not quite technically an 18 iron, honestly. This is about a 15 iron, so in the brown that'll match up a little bit more closely to the existing sole and everything on that too. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding this out, getting it shaped, make sure that the heel is all properly leveled with the sole, just because right now it's not. So if I can set it up, right now it's not. There's a huge gap right underneath this heel base there. Let me readjust the camera for you to see it. Alright, so there's a gap right here all across, so in order to have it all leveled, see how much it all moves around and shifts and everything. So got to make sure that heel is leveled out. But the first thing before we start trying to level it is we got to shape the heel, because you'd be surprised how often I've seen cobblers level the heel, then they start to shape it and everything, and it completely changes the outcome of what's going on and everything. So first things first, got to shape that heel, get it going, because right now, see how without this top lift under it, it sits a little more flush and more flat and everything, so we got to reduce that heel height. But first is the shaping. And if you're wondering, yes, I've got the nails in there. You can see they're a little bit shiny in there. That's to hold the heel block on. Underneath the heel base, you saw that I also added some clinch nails to the sole. That's kind of an upgrade for these boots, because they originally didn't have any kind of clinch nails going through them. So that's going to secure that sole a little bit better on there as well. So time to go shape. Alright everyone, so I got them finished out right there. So now they've got a bit more of a Cuban heel. It's a little bit taller, got a nice thick hefty leather sole on there with a Vibram 700 sole on these. So I mean, overall they're kind of different than what normally you would have with the Wolverine 1000 mile. So at this point, really I need to do a cash or trash episode, because I haven't done one for Wolverine 1000 miles. And I mean, overall I like the boots. I've always liked Wolverine 1000 miles. There's so many, you know, boots out there and stuff, but in my opinion, I like these. I didn't need to pull up to see exactly, you know, prices and stuff like that, obviously. And, you know, really is it worth it, is it not worth it type of thing, because there's some good boots out there, but sometimes not at the price level that they are at. So you know, from the recraft and everything that we do on these all the time, in my opinion, they're great. I definitely like them, but for the cash or trash episode, I'm definitely going to have to pull up what the prices are going to be like. So you're definitely going to want to check that out if you're wondering what my opinion is, because I've had people ask me what my thoughts are on Wolverine 1000 miles. Great boots, definitely. Now, is the price and everything else that goes with these boots matched up very well. Keep getting interrupted. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely give a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell icon so that you're notified as soon as the Cash or Trash episode is posted, because it could take an extra day or two after the recraft video is posted on these. That way you'll be notified once the video is up, and you can watch it right then and there, or save it and watch it a little bit later. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.